Good day, everybody.
Happy New Year! Malapit na, bukas na, di ba?
New Year again.
Chinese
Bad
New
choice.
Year.
Oo.
How do you say the other
Pero,
one?
kakat-
Xinyan.
Kuwaila.
Point.
Siyan.
Sinyen
Point.
Xinyan Kuala.
Kuwaila. Okay.
Kuwaila.
Oo.
Sinyen Kuwaila.
So, ano to, a cause na naman of celebration for many people around the world. And this is the reason why pag-uusapan natin uli ang New Year. Nag-New Year discussion tayo. Pero ibang klase itong
Yes.
celebration na ganito kasi meron ding kultura na sinusunod ang
Sa
mga...
base nila sa mga nature cycles.
Talaga.
Oo.
Lunar.
Lunar.
Hindi nila fina-follow yung basta January 1, January 1. Ito nag-iiba ang dates kasi
Solar kasi yun eh.
Pero you're saying nila, but we have Chinese blood also, di
Oh
ba?
yes.
So, marami sa atin. It's really part of our heritage then.
Diba? So may lunar, may solar. Ang West, sinusundan natin yung kasi year eh. The complete cycle ng
365.
ng ating planeta sa araw. Kaya ito naman, moon cycle.
Lunar cycle.
Lunar. Kaya sa practices nila, sa culture nila, even the way they live,
Yeah.
the positioning of their homes.
Tsaka meron din silang ano, di ba? Meron silang moon cakes. Di ba?
Ayan, oo. Sa
Ayan.
August naman yata yun, hindi ba? Moon
So the moon
Festival.
is
Moon
really
cake
part of their
festival.
culture.
Oo.
Kanilang
So
celebration.
very connected sila with nature and
Yeah.
the cycles, the systematic calendar and
The natural
timing
cycle
of nature. Oo, kaya we have to take note of this
We all have to take note of that
Oo.
because many of us are detached to these cycles.
Oo.
We tend to kind of go with our own cycle.
Oo.
Okay, yung cycle nung pinanganak ako hanggang sa
Unnatural. Yung iba,
hanggang-
unnatural na.
may ganun yun eh.
Minsan
So,
nga hindi na rhythmic yung cycles na
alam niyo bakit? Bakit
dapat
importante
sana.
yan? Kasi kapag hindi natin tutunan o nadadama itong natural cycles in nature that takes place, we're off sync.
Yan.
Out of sync tayo sa kanila. Yung biorhythms ng
Walang
ating buhay,
harmony.
hindi tayo nakatugma.
Oo.
Kaya nga, sa kultura ng when you follow the lunar cycle, even the way you do your exercises, kasi they recognize that because we live in this planet, di ba, ang planeta natin circulates in a certain way. May ikot yan eh. Right? Ang ikot niya counterclockwise. Alright? May ganon eh. So, from, let's say, umiikot right now, we're facing east right now kami. Kita nyo sa background, may sikat ng araw, hindi ba? Ang araw nasa harap namin. So that means, ang cycle ng sinusundan ng lunar, kapag anong ikot ng ating planeta, you go from east to north, north to west, west to south. Ganun. So ngayon, when you follow this rhythm, your natural cycles in your body would follow that too kasi biorhythms ng katawan eh.
So, mas healthy.
So it's a healthier way to live.
Hindi ka kumukontra.
Hindi ka kumukontra. Sinasabayan mo siya, yung ikot sa ating planeta. So sa kanila, kaya in this culture, ayoko na sabihin sa kanila, sa atin. Kasama tayo eh. Dapat ganun
Oriental, ano to?
Yeah, we're in the Orient eh. Sila, alam, Asian movement. Kasi we're in the Asian part of the country, of the world.
Yes.
Di ba? Kaya sinasabi ng West, mga taga-East, tayo yun eh. Sila yung taga-West. Okay.
So, tayo dito sa East.
But pagdating sa East tayo, makikita natin na we're full of information, ancient knowledge on lifestyle of cultures, which is so rich. So rich from arts to food to health to
whole culture.
Kita nyo, then you will find that the stronger that culture is, the more resilient that culture is to different changes that's occurring. But pag nakita nyo sa West, most of their changes take place during what?
What danger? As
Okay.
in season?
What is one of the main factor that pushes changes in the West?
Revolutions?
What? Tingnan. Okay, malapit na yun.
Oo.
Revolutions,
Mm-mm.
wars,
Upheavals.
upheavals.
Yeah.
Oo.
Kasi why is that taking place like that? And there's
Siguro off-sync yung mga yan.
there's always continuous changes in the Western situation, di ba?
Oo.
Like, for example, nung balik tayo sa history, no? 60 years ago, nagkaroon tayo ng World War II.
Mm-mm.
May gera dito sa East, may gera din sa West.
Mm.
Tama?
Yeah.
You analyze it, di ba? The
Yeah.
Japanese tried to take over. What was the root of their
Ito.
trying to take over? And what was the root cause of how the Germans were trying to take over? Analyze niyo yan eh. But you will find it has to do with trying to preserve. The Japanese had that point of view too. Kasi nagipit sila eh. So they needed to kind of nagkaroon sila ng expansionist
Oo.
attitude kasi sila yung mga warmongers ng time na yun eh. Whereas
Mm-mm.
many here in Asia were peace-loving nations.
Mm.
Kasi culturally, we were educated eh, and we were supplied with knowledge to survive as a nation.
Mm.
And
But-
resources as well.
Right.
Oo.
But punong-puno tayo ng resources.
Mm.
Ngayon, whereas in the West, the battle was always for the resources eh, and the
Mm-mm.
control of who's going to be the influencer.
Mm.
Right? Ganun yan eh. So, okay, siyempre New Year ang pinag-uusapan natin, gera na naman. So,
Oo nga.
but ang punto ko dyan, ang punto natin dyan, simple lang.
Alam mo sa
Kasi when you talk,
sa Chinese bawal pag-usapan ang death,
Oo.
war, mga ganyan basta pagdating ng New Year.
Bagong
Those
taon
are
yan, kasi
sabi
look-
nila,
Yan, last day.
Look-
wag
forward,
bukas,
eh.
magsasalita na ganun, unlucky words daw yan.
forward-looking kasi to changes. Kasi kung ano ang naging gains, dapat more gains na.
Oo.
Yes.
Hindi yung bawas-bawas.
Oh, hindi yung parang, see, the thing is, when we start to embrace cultures that we're not so sure where it's leading us all, but we know that there's always, because of wealth of information, this guides us. But when we start to look west all the time, we lose those stability and balance in what their life purpose should be. Kasi yung base ng New Year, yun goodwill yan eh.
Oh,
Goodwill for
renewal.
nation, renewal
Mm.
yan eh. Hindi yung, siyempre may paputok din, di ba? Sila yung nag-uso ng paputok para yung evil spirits.
At saka the louder, the better daw.
Mhm.
Oo, the more good luck coming your way.
Oo. O marami akong i-share today. Bago tayo mag-share, batiin natin yung mga sumasali sa atin this morning. Si Aurora Garcia, good morning. Harry
Ah.
Kapulong, Muriel Go,
Yay,
hello.
kapatid.
And then Clifford. Magandang umaga sa iyo, Clifford. Okay? So, ang i-bring up ko ay mga activities na basta either Chinese New Year or yung Spring Festival nila ay pinagbabawal itong mga activities na ito.
Bawal.
Bawal, oo.
Wait, can I say something? Isa
Ano
lang
yun?
alam ko eh.
Sige.
Yung ang alam ko, dapat bago mag-New Year, maglinis na tayo
Ay,
ng
oo.
bahay. Pero pagka New Year
Year,
na,
Bawal.
wag muna.
Bawal magwalis na raw kasi pati daw yung wealth and fortune ay
Yung swerte.
lalabas, hindi
Yeah.
ba? Actually, meron din sila mga kasabihan na, okay, first, no killings daw on New Year. Oo, bawal ang...
dapat vegetarian food.
Oo, pero ang ginagawa nila ng dadaya before mag-New Year, kaya siguro
Doon
yung...
na nila lulutuin.
Kaya siguro yung hamon,
Kasi
coffee
matagal
na,
pa yun.
kasi preserved na siya,
Ah.
hindi ba? Pero on the day itself, kasi alam daw nila na hindi matutuwa yung mga gods. You know,
Mm.
kasi yung mga Buddhist, no, marami talaga.
Yes.
Yung mga gods ay hindi matutuwa kung sila ay magpapatay, no, ng mga
Okay. They
creatures.
found a loophole, ha?
They-
Ginawa nila ahead of
O kaya rin siguro mga Peking duck ay nauna na lang tinatay, no? Pero it's a good idea, hindi ba?
So,
That on
it's
a
about
very-
life.
Non-violence.
Oo,
on this
non-violence.
day,
No
dapat,
exploitation.
oh, yes.
Bringing goodness.
Oo.
Kasama lahat kasi alam ninyo sa atin sa bundok where we are, there are cultures that recognizes everyone
Mm.
as part of the whole
Yeah,
the biodiversity.
Yes.
See, may ganun eh.
just the people. but
Na-input
yung
sa ating
animals.
psyche yun nung
Mhm.
araw pa. It's like, there are certain cultures, even in the West, the Indians, American
Mhm.
Indians, yung cultures nila, ganun eh.
Mm.
Oo.
Tapos, sa atin, it's imbibed that, kaya nga, even in the, ano eh, yung mga horoscopes nila, yung
Oh, yung
planets, may
science,
animals,
science,
lahat,
rabbit,
kita mo, you recognize
Oo.
the importance of them and they
Oo.
actually recognize each, ano kasi nila, yung
Quality ng
Right.
bawat animal na
Yeah.
may positive, hindi ba, merong contribution.
Right.
Tapos ang isa pa, basta New Year at sana throughout the year ay bawal daw umutang at magpautang.
Mm-mm.
No lending nor borrowing.
Oo. At saka ang ano na nga nila, bago matapos yung taon, magbayad ka na ng
Oo,
utang
yes,
mo.
hindi ba? Talagang
Don't
you
start
want
the year with
want
that.
to settle your debts kasi
Yes.
ayaw mong dala-dala mo ito throughout the year.
Oo.
okay,
di ba?
nag-uumpisak pa lang ng taon, nag-iisip pa ng bayad utang.
Ah,
Yung gano'n, hindi ba?
Tapusin mo na kasi, di ba?
Oo, kaya
bago
kaya-
taon.
At saka kaya, the best thing, just huwag ka na lang umutang forever. Okay.
yes, isn't that a good solution?
Neither be a lender nor borrower.
Borrower be.
Oo.
O yan, sabi nga ni Myra, buy new footwear today to ensure you will walk through the new year. Throughout the new year. A wise old Chinese nanny, Apa used to say.
Yan.
Yes.
Oo.
So, go yan, Myra, go.
Oo.
With the Chinese
Yan ang ano
culture,
natin,
alam
the
nila.
use of what you will benefit from, hindi ba?
Yes.
Parang
And
it's a
speaking
good
of
sign.
footwear,
Oo.
hindi daw yan magandang gift for New Year,
Oo.
di ba?
Yung meron mga
Oo.
bagay na hindi dapat irigalo sa New Year. Yun nga mga shoes kasi this is naman a sign of death, no? Pag nagregalo ka,
Buy
you
yourself.
can buy
shoes.
yourself the
Oo.
shoes. Ang
But
bawal,
not as gifts.
ang bawal din daw ay scissors kasi ito parang it cuts relationships, no?
Oo. Ako
Ah,
natin lahat ng ganyan.
mirrors.
Ay, yung mga gunting. Itago lahat ng
Hindi
gunting.
kasi pag
Mga ganun yan.
nagregalo,
Just don't give it as a gift.
oo, pag nagregalo ka parang may mensahe yun eh.
I
What
see.
what does this symbolize pag nagregalo ka kunyari ng knife or scissors?
Mm.
O ba gusto mo
Oh,
ba
you're not
akong
thinking practical terms.
gusto mo bang saksakin ako or hindi ba? Baka makasakit or something.
Bakit ganyan yung regalo mo?
Yun. Oo,
Ah,
kasama rin sa kanila yung ano, scented candles. Kasi yung candles, kasi candles daw, it reminds one of death.
You light a
yung
candle for the
oo.
dead. So, hindi dapat.
Oo. So, ang ano rin nila,
Ikaw na lang bumili kung kailangan mo. Huwag ka mag-iintay ng regalo.
or another day ka na lang, hindi ba, magregalo. Maybe.
mabuti lang, dumating yung regalo ng hindi, matagal na yung regalo na hindi lang naipasa sa atin.
Ano,
Alin?
may nagbigay sa amin ng
Ng kandila
kandila.
na
Oo.
scented candle.
I see. Oo.
We received too, but that's for Christmas, hindi New Year.
Yun nga, oo. Kasi meron lang tong symbolism during the New Year. Tapos, ang iba pa niya ay, okay, ito pa yung mga iba. No hospital visits. Okay. Kasi daw, it brings illness. You know, which is in a way, which is
Mahawa ka
true.
pa.
Yun nga, which is true. So, ang point din dito, naisip na nila yon na meron silang nakikita na pag
Meron din
Oo.
wisdom yung
may wisdom.
at the root
Oo.
of it.
Kasi naman minsan ang mga tao sa ospital, kalagkat pati yung mga bata, pati lahat ng mga susceptible
But
or vulnerable.
there's another picture to that.
Mm.
So, siyempre, nakikita nila, no? Ay, dapat wag tayo mahuhospital sa panahon na ganito.
Yun
well
pala,
na.
ibig
Stay well.
sabihin.
Oo.
Di ba?
No illness.
No illness.
Oo.
So,
Let's start the year in the
if you can
hospital.
help it, don't.
Don't get sick.
So that's why when you have a new beginning, kaya nga in the cultures na ganyan, there's always a component for you to stay healthy.
Yes.
Wag kang, kumbaga napag-ingatan mo yun yung sarili mo, so you make sure na para yung buong taon mo,
Healthy.
healthy ka. You're
Healthy
free
and
from
prosperous.
sickness.
Pero makita rin natin kahit nung nagka-pandemic, iwas talaga lahat ng tao pumunta sa ospital. Talagang this is a
Pwede
sign.
palang gawin.
Pwede pala, hindi
Oo,
ba?
pwede palang gawin. Hindi tayo parang
Pero
umaas lang.
second,
And
question
you
ko.
understand the concept.
Oo.
Right,
Di
kasi
ba ang Chinese New Year mahaba ang kanilang ano?
Oo.
So during that, parang 2 weeks yung celebration.
Several days.
So,
I think 15 days.
throughout that,
Oo.
covered niya ang mga
Oo.
lista na yan.
Oo. Ano naman talaga, it is for the benefit also ng mga tao. No? Kung do this right, at least in the beginning of the
Oo,
year,
start the year on the
start the
right
year
foot,
on the
oo.
right foot, hindi ba?
So kaya nga okay, these are guidelines.
Yeah.
Diba? Base sa anong year ngayon.
Kanila mga
If it's year
traditional
of
things
the
nila.
rabbit, if it's the
Oo.
year of the ox,
Oo.
tapos marami pa yan may lalim pa yan. And the practice of their health, for
Yes.
example, in breeding,
Yes.
they recognize they have a universal view of everything.
Mm.
Yung interconnectivity sa mga stars, the bearings, ang dami niyan eh.
Mm-mm.
When you learn to live your life being guided by this, the biorhythms of your physical and your mental well-being is taken in context.
Mm-mm.
Tapos nandiyan pa yung kanilang mga virtues. Di ba?
Yes.
May virtues yan eh. Konektado lahat yan eh.
Mm.
Tapos yung colors pa.
Oo.
Di ba? Certain color dapat yung suot
Oo.
ninyo. Marami yan eh.
Sabi nga
Anong kulay
no,
pwede?
ayaw, basta wag the white and black.
Ah,
Oo.
Pula no?
Oo,
Pula
they
ang
go
gusto
for
nila.
red,
It's
more-
auspicious.
more-
Kaya yung
rich
pula,
in
there's
color.
another thing with the red eh.
Oh, bakit?
Kasi the red connects to your heart. That's the color of the heart. It's the color of happiness. So you bring the color of happiness.
Oo.
Not kasi sa kanila pag, di ba, sa atin pag nagluluksa itim yung
White
kulay.
yan.
Oo.
Sa kanila puti.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay. So neither, kasi nga it both signifies death, yung black or white. So they avoid this on the new year. You know,
Kasi the
dapat
symbols
happy
of yin,
colors.
the
Happy
symbols of
colors.
yin yang is there.
mm-mm.
The balancing act. Kaya nga
Mm-mm.
may white and black eh.
Mm.
Kasi ganun yung nature ng planeta natin.
Oo.
Eh,
Tapos sabi pa nila, there should be no unlucky words.
Oh, we'll
Oh.
only speak nice things.
Oo.
with others.
Unlucky. Ano ba
Ano
daw?
naman yung
Unlucky
word
daw
na
kasama
yan?
dito. Ghosts. Okay.
Ah,
Mention of ghosts, the mention of sickness, and even the mention of death. Sabi ngayon, paano mo daw sasabihin kung merong namatay?
Oo
no?
nga.
Somebody is dead. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin yon. Sabihin lang, somebody is gone. No? So you just
gone
don't
is
mention
okay.
the word
The
death.
D word.
The D word. Oo. Yun lang, iwasan lang sabihin. Kasi they would like to have a more positive, they want to have a more joyous
Mhm.
celebration. Kasi isa pa rin pinagbabawal nila yung crying. So para walang iyakan,
nagluluksa.
walang,
Ganun.
oo, hindi ba, tayo,
Meron naman.
Pero
di ba?
pwedeng tears of joy.
Yeah,
Ay,
di ba?
Mga reunion.
Oo.
pwede yun.
Lalo
natural
ngayon,
yun.
ang daming talagang matagal na
Pero
nakita.
kapag merong nanalo, Tears of Joy sa Miss Universe, talagang dampi. Ayaw nila bumagsak ang Tears of
Baka
Joy
may
nila
makeup
kasi
nila.
yun ang nakakatakot. Ganun, I'm so happy. Tapos ganun sila ng ganun. So, yun lang ano natin, ayaw nila ng grieving, ayaw
Mhm.
nila ng negativity at the beginning of the new year. Ang isa pa lang nilang sinasabi ngayon ay no breaking of dishes. Okay, bawal daw magbasa,
Bawal
magkabasag.
mag-away para wala mag...
Ayun, kasi
tatapon.
nga yes, because it brings bad luck yan. Pag
Oo.
ikaw ay
paano
nagbabasag-basag,
kung accident?
kailangan,
Kailangan
ibig
mag-iingat.
sabihin din,
Ingat ka.
nag-iingat.
So,
Kailangan ingat ka, wala kang binabasag, wala kang sinisira, ganon. Kasi nga, well, in a sense, the lesson is carefulness. No?
Yes.
To be
mindful.
careful about what we are doing. So, very nice naman yung mga virtues na gusto. Pero ito, isa nila, no lugaw for breakfast and also no meat. Okay.
Oh, really? No lugaw?
Oo.
Kaya noodles.
Kasi
Normally,
hindi,
yun ang kanilang
hindi,
breakfast.
kasi nga, hindi, yun ang normal nila. Pero kasi, it's a sign of poverty naman
Frugal kasi.
Oo, kasi, siya, kaya nga naman pag New Year, gusto ng mga tao ilabas yung special dishes.
Right. That's the
di
time
ba?
they spend a lot.
Yes,
Pagka
yan,
New
diyan
Year
ka
celebration.
maglalabas.
Maraming noodles.
Noodles.
Noodles for
Yun ang
long
sign
life,
of
right?
good life.
Yeah,
Oo, sign of good life.
Usually dumplings is one of the main foods that they make, di ba? For
Oo.
New Year.
Even in Vietnam, I think that's their activity.
Oriental siya.
Ganyan.
Kasi kanya-kanya sila ring
Oo.
names for New Year.
So basically, meron kasi naman sa Philippines, meron tayong alam natin mga practices. Kunyari, polka dots, kailangan may
Chinese
bilog-bilog.
din yata yun
Tapos kailangan merong
included in.
malinis yung lugar and
Yes.
everything,
I think we adopted a lot from the Chinese.
Yes,
no?
but
Kaka-intermarry din natin.
oo. It's a basic understanding of what we should practice to bring about the good values, kumbaga
Yes,
the
oo.
virtues, mas positive, you know.
Mm.
And ang ano naman natin is some are kind of superstitious, no. Sabihin natin alam naman natin kung superstitious 'to kasi for example, no, you cannot shampoo your hair on New
Mm.
Year at saka you cannot do laundry.
Ba't daw?
Kasi it washes away good fortune. Oo.
Oh, I see.
Tsaka bawal din magpakuto ng buhok, haircut,
Mm.
tsaka mag-shampoo. So siguro i-postpone mo na lang yung
Before
pag-shampoo
nga,
pero
before.
pero naman, kung nangangamoy-ngamoy na tayo kailangan mag-shampoo na tayo, 'di ba? Pero sabihin natin wala namang scientific basis. Ayan na
We
yung mga
never heard of
minsan
that one.
Alam
oo.
nyo, even nga when you talk on colors, for example,
Mm.
part of their practices is part of the practices is, let's say, in nature you find all varieties of color around you.
Oo
Yes.
nga.
Ma-
Oo.
Now it has its own representations.
Mm.
So within our physical bearings, yung ating katawan, our organs are connected to what's in nature also.
Oh, may
Let's say
specific colors.
may specific colors. For
Pati yung
example, ang liver
food.
mo,
Oo.
forest green. Earth.
Ah.
Okay. Hindi, yung earth,
Hindi, wood yun.
wood,
Oo.
ang liver. Tapos yung earth, yung ating belly, yung ating spleen,
Stomach.
stomach, yan, may mga kulay. Tapos kunyari yung
Yellow.
ating puso, siyempre pula. Yung
Oo.
ating bagay, yung dibdib natin, puti.
White.
White.
Oo. At saka ang symbolism pa nga dun sa sa white, yung lotus root,
Mm.
hindi ba?
Mm.
Kasi it's white, tapos meron pa siyang
Tapos yung,
parang ano siya,
yung ating,
parang sa
yung
lung.
ating kidney, siyempre blue, big. So the ocean, it represents the ocean. Water. So makikita natin, when you have all of these elements in harmony of each other, then that is the key for living a life that is in harmony with what's around us.
Yes.
So from the food that you eat, dapat iba-ibang uring kulay.
Yeah, to have a balanced
Oo.
meal, they say
Oo.
have all these, at least the 5 colors
Yes, the five colors.
represented
Oo.
on your plate.
Kaya makita naman natin naghahanda ng iba-ibang prutas rin,
Right.
iba dito
So,
sa atin
iba
for
puro
New Year.
bilog-bilog ang
Oo.
hinahanap nila.
Mga grapes, mga oranges, mga different colors. And also this shows that in our food or in our diet, there must be variety.
Oo.
Yeah, kasi ano nga
Represented lahat.
you
Nutrients.
need to see it because nature has already offered you something that is already bountiful.
Mm.
But when you're disconnected to nature and you're just connected to the supermarkets and the market that you go to, so hindi.
Connected to the
Hindi,
supermarket.
you have to be happy during New Year, di ba man?
Kaya
Ayun
nga
na.
connection kasi online na yung ating.
Oo. Kaya we have to be able to to make a distinction and right choices based on yung binanggit natin yung organs mo are represented with different types of color.
Oo.
So kaya nga ang food chop suey ang tawag.
Ay, oo nga, makulay.
Hindi maganda
Makulay
talaga
yung
yung
chop
food plates
suey.
dito sa Orient.
You go look at
Iba-ibang
look at the Japanese meals. Kita nyo
Oo.
art talaga.
Maganda.
Tapos look at the Koreanos to. You'll see all. You look at the
Lahat ng
Vietnamese. Kita mo sa atin naman sa Pilipinas, ganun din eh.
Oo.
Napakakulay ng ating
Saka
kinakain.
hindi lang colorful, iba-ibang texture.
Right.
Merong crunchy, merong
Oo.
soft,
May sweet, may sour, may
prickly.
Oo.
hindi yung ano, matabang. Di ba? Yung pinakuluan lang. Makikita natin dito. If you go to the Vedic culture, you will find all
very
kinds of
flavorful.
varieties of flavorful
Mm-mm.
food and spices being used. And nakikita natin yan nangyayari. So it's something for us to also imbibe and embrace that there are things that we can be practicing
Mm-mm.
and
Yeah.
use the old cultures to help us through
Mm-mm.
the situation that we face every day of our
Mm-mm.
lives. Kasi may ganun sila eh.
Mm-mm.
We're not looking at our life on just such a short-term gratification, but they see that there's always a cycle in our life, eh,
Mm-mm.
right? And then there are times na sometimes puti ang buhok mo, then dark, may mga ganun eh.
Oo
So
nga.
you have to make your adaptation.
Oo.
So the key is because we have been gifted with the ability to be able to determine what choices we make, it's always best to be guided by choices that are already true and tested.
Oo.
Mm.
Oh, let's
Kaya ganun yung mga traditional
Ah.
practices fina-follow kasi most of it, well, a lot of it is already
Let's greet
dead.
our ano,
yeah, our
Gopi.
viewers.
Good morning.
Ah,
And then Kat, good morning to you too. And
Yung isa tiga Dumaguete, isa taga Rizal, at meron pang tiga General Trias Cebu. Malalayo yun. Tsaka may isang tiga
Right.
Saudi. Okay, that's of course si Nino and then si Rads.
Raj Rodrigo.
Oo. Hello,
Hello,
Rads.
Wow.
Dionra. Oo. From Saudi. Okay.
yeah, and
hello.
Aurora says that they also practice cleaning their altar on
Yeah.
New Year,
Yan, oo.
no? Aside from of course, the rest of the house. Also, aside from buying new shoes, di ba? They buy new clothes rin.
Yes.
No, to
Oo.
welcome the New Year with.
Hello, Susan. Good morning din sa'yo. Ang ano natin is the new year should be, kumbaga, welcoming it with a new vision of something cleaner, something better,
Mm-mm.
something fresh, something very beautiful, hindi ba? Kaya nga they don't want
Out with the old.
out with the
the
old
new.
and the negativity.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm.
it has to do with kasi renewal nga.
Mm-mm.
So but like in life, there's always a balance that you have to. There's always a balancing act.
Mm-mm.
For example, energies that we generate for our body, that helps us in every part of our life. For example, even in the exercises that they do, the type of exercises they conduct themselves with, they treat it with gentleness in nature. Kasi
Mm.
kadalasan, when we are unaware of what the natural systems are around you, what happens is we end up destroying it.
Mm-mm.
And we don't see the connectivity to the health of our body and mind and to the future of of our society.
Mm.
It had to do or hinges in what nature has to give us or what resources is available to us. So the idea of being able to connect and live your life in harmony with the elements of nature, the stars, all of that is considered there.
Mm-mm.
And this guides us, this guides us in decision making. Ang dami niyan eh.
Oo.
Kaya nga sa pagdating sa New Year, you consult eh.
Mm-mm.
You consult, minsan sila, di ba, practices of yung mga sa astrology, nagkonsulta sila sa lahat.
Oy, mga
If I make decisions, it has to have a basis, not just carried by emotions or feel, but
Mm-mm.
tingnan nyo yung science behind it.
Oo.
Talking about guides, the practice also sa Chinese New Year is to remember our ancestors.
Mm.
Diba? Because we owe a lot to them.
Mm.
So we remember them. So for the Chinese, they make offerings and they remember the things that their elders taught them.
Uy, parang Thanksgiving yun,
yeah.
no? Parang
Yeah, this is part
day
of their New
appreciation.
Year. Yes. Part of the New Year. And of
Oo.
course, that's why there are reunions because they see the
Oo.
importance of the family unit.
Oo. That's a very good part of the celebration.
Yes,
Di ba?
oo.
Celebrating with people that we love, celebrating and sharing also.
Yeah.
Sharing.
Kita mo yung Chinese habit nila nga, a lot of them live together. 3
Oo.
generations could be in the same place. No?
Yes. Oo.
Because they take care of the old and they also take care of the young.
Oo.
And they all help each other.
And the way the business would prosper is that kung ikaw ay the younger generation ka, you don't need to be concerned. It's just your concern will be
Mm-mm.
to carry on what has been laid down.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sana buhay.
Yung
Mm.
mga
Oo.
pinundar at
Pinundar,
pinaghirapan ng
pinaghirapan.
elders,
Mm.
itutuloy mo dapat.
So there's parang may support sila in a
May
way throughout the generations.
And you know what it brings about is that it gives you a lot more when these things are being set up by your generation of your elders. Kumbaga, ano, it brings you to a point where I just have to improve and carry on based on time
You're
and
not always
place.
starting from scratch.
Right.
Kasi
Kagandahan nun.
meron nang i-hand over to
That
you and
gives you, kasi
you have that responsibility.
in their culture, it's not just, kasi sa atin, yung naiisip kasi natin, commercialization also eh.
Mm.
But not the refinement of our existence.
Mm.
But if you look at it, ang dami, may mga refinement. Kaya nga when you talk about, kasi ang dami nilang branches eh. May Confucianism, may
Daw.
Tao,
Oo.
may Buddhist. Then they have the component of Gong Fu. That's for physical and mental strength.
Mhm.
Then they have the component of
And you mean
meditation.
the
In the
martial
very
arts teachers?
in the very heart of the culture,
Sifu.
they have this, and that means parents too use these components in society to strengthen the resolve of their own children,
Yes.
their generations. Kasi
Oo.
pag walang values na kasama sa pagpalaki ng mga anak, in those
Hindi
values,
maitutuloy.
right?
Oo.
So, if you look at that component to it,
Strong yung
kaya nga
respect.
I mentioned, it starts with, may practices sila. Yung Kung Fu, what is Kung Fu? It's to make it so your body and mind, you're mentally become very strong. You're physically very healthy and strong. You understand those dynamics. Tapos, next is, you have your, tawag nila, Qigong.
Mm.
It means your internal.
Mm.
So there are components to that. And then you have your meditation component, which actually calms the mind.
Oo.
Tapos then you have the very virtues that come. Kasi kunyari when you talk about Taoism, sa culture nila, the Taoism means it is your connectivity with nature.
Mm.
That's what it is.
Mm.
Ayun yung pinaka-component nun eh. And then, the Confucianism, ang turo naman dyan, yung virtues.
Oo.
See, nandyan yung paggalang,
Respect,
honesty,
gratitude.
gratitude, nandyan lahat. And
Charity.
labing apat yun eh.
Oo. Actually, may kunento nga si Tito Toby nung isang beses na some people think that when he was teaching taekwondo, that he was teaching fighting, violence, no? Pero hindi pala yun ang pinaka-essence ng pag-aral ng martial art.
Self-discipline,
Discipline, respect. Kasi matuto ka mag-bow dun sa teacher, hindi ba?
not only that, humility,
Oo.
tapos
Resilience,
resilience, steadfast. Kasi practice yan eh. Kaya when you bring in the new year, there are those components to every person's existence.
Oo.
You're not just okay, ang interest mo, yung interest mo lang.
Yes.
Kung hindi, tinatanaw mo kung ano yung pinasa ng inyong mga ninuno at saka yung inyong mga teachers at saka yung pinatatag yung inyong kultura. Kasi may ganun yung kultura eh. Kailangan yung component malakas in all angles eh. Kasi kung hindi natin tatahakin ng matuwid. Kaya nga may kasabihan tayo sa ating sa Pilipinas, yung daang matuwid.
Oo.
Kahit napakarami ng mga obstacles mo, yung daan mo matuwid pa rin. Hindi ka nababahala.
Kasi kaiba naman sa Western culture, parang pag 18 ka, bahala ka sa buhay mo.
Yeah,
hindi
you're
ba?
like rooted out even.
You cut off that connection that you have, hindi ba?
And
Parang,
start from scratch.
iniisip nila kasi parang ang pinaka-progress ay yung independence, yung complete independence nung anak, But in Asian, Eastern culture, we do maintain the connections and we do
There's always a support. That's why there's a practice also of the Chinese, di ba? Labasan ng mga red envelope, no?
para sa
Where
yung
they
red
put
envelope na
money,
yan, okay?
gift for the children. And this is mainly actually for their education, for their health, for their needs. No, it's not for buying toys or what. It's really meant for their future na maalagaan sila ng gusto.
And it has to do with keeping the family unit
intact
and very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi kumbaga
foundation.
I'm the elder. Ako yung nakakatanda. I've established a business. I want to make sure that business carries over to everybody.
Para hindi na nga sila
the success.
Diba?
Siyempre, nagbago kasi ngayon yung time and place na iba eh. And they have been exposed to different parts of the world eh. You will find. But it is the strengths inside of them, their character, that even if I'm in the West, you will still have a culture being preserved in a particular section of the town. Kaya sa Pilipinas ngayon,
Kaya may
go to
mga Chinatown in other
Oo,
parts of the
oo.
world.
So it has to do with itong kultura na to, pinatatatag namin ang mga tao na pinalaki nito. So that when they function in the society, wherever they go, it's very, may tatag sila. Kahit hindi sila nanggugulo.
Oo.
May limit sila, may support system.
their culture.
Let's greet everybody else who's a couple. Yogi Padilla, good morning to you, and Mila Celeste. Carmela
De Vera.
De Vera,
Yes.
good morning.
Carlito Salazar,
si Carlito.
hello.
Good morning.
Kumusta? And Ver
Enriquez.
Enriquez
From Subic, yes.
Good morning.
Herschel Tolentino, good morning too.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, makishalo naman kayo.
Oo.
O baka may mga alam
Ang
kayong
hindi
tradition,
ko lang
practice
magustuhan ang sa kanilang celebration is yung paputok. Kasi nga,
Ah,
well, in terms yung sinasabi nung mas malakas, the better. Actually, it
that's
can
their
also
practice.
damage the eardrums, you know.
Kasi naman ngayon, hindi na ordinaryong paputok.
Nung araw,
Hindi
yung
ba na yan?
paputok kasi, siyempre
Grabe,
nagbago na
yung
yung panahon ngayon eh. Siyempre, nung araw siguro, hindi naman masyadong gano'n.
Yata yung ngayon.
Pag sinabi kasi nung araw, ang dinamita,
Oh,
sila nag-invento ng dinamita eh.
Oo.
Okay, pero ginagamit lang yun sa different reason and
Oo.
purpose. Sila nga nag-invento niya, kaya nga yung ibang West,
The gunpowder.
the gunpowder was there. It has a purpose.
We were kids, ganyang kaliit pa yung triangle.
triangulo.
Ngayon,
Sabi ng friend namin na teacher, sabi niya,
Yes na yan.
that's not a firecracker, that's a dynamite. It's a bomb. Sabi niya
kaya
daw.
nga,
Kaya nga.
Grabe, yumayanig kasi pati yung dingding.
siyempre kita niyo, nagbago rin ng kultura niya. Kasi kumbaga, we lost the plot.
Yun. Lost the plot. Sobra
Kasi
na yan.
We're supposed to scare away the bad
Spirits.
And now we're inviting them na yan.
na pag nagpasabog kayo ng pati eardrums niyo, bad spirit na rin yung eardrums niyo.
Tsaka you'll end up in the hospital.
Okay, but
Remember,
anyway,
more is not always better.
Do not go
So
beyond.
Tradition pa rin.
so on the end, we see that, that's why no matter what you see, how such culture is still strong and going strong.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, there's one thing that we don't see nagbago rin sa sarili nilang culture. Katulad noon, pag sinabi ninyong pagkain nila, staple nila, ang staple nila nung araw, during the 60s and 70s, ganyan, and 50s, was kamote.
Oh, yeah.
Kala ko sabihin mo, tofu, tokwa.
No, was kamote. Was their staple.
Really?
And it was a very healthy choice. Eh ngayon, naging modernized, nag-adapt sila ng medyo, okay.
Remember when we went to China before together, and we went on a street na parang yung street natin sa vegan. It's still the old way.
yeah.
Meron silang guy with a cart, and then it's full of coal. May latang malaki, may coal. Then they'll dig out the kamote. Di
yes.
ba?
They bake it in a
Oo.
big can.
Ang sarap ng kamote nila.
Nakauling sa loob.
Yes,
Oo.
and then you take it with some hot soy milk.
You can
It's a good
you can
breakfast
see the
again.
sugars coming out. Parang
Natural
nag-drip siya doon.
Natural sugar
Kasi pag
niya.
binake po ang kamote, napakasarap ng
Tumatamis,
kamote.
oo.
Talagang very nice ang flavor niya. Kaya iyan ang mga traditions nila.
Oo.
Hindi ba?
So even
That's
for
so nice kasi they had the old foods there, and then the people were in costume as well.
Yeah.
Parang you went back to the past.
Tapos bibili ko po ng kamote, tinitimbang nila. Meron silang timbangan, magkano ibabayad mo, how heavy the kamote is.
And they had that yung little weighing scale pa na the old way, di ba?
well, there's a question Ahmed
Like that.
Gatari is asking you. I mentioned about astrology science. Say astrology is a pseudoscience. What is your take on this? Well, that is subject to that's debatable because many times the scientists are also kumbaga influenced by a Western way of thinking without a broader perspective. Now, ang astrology is so vast
Oo.
and it's ang science. What they try to do is to make it so it's self-limiting. And the science of the modern science today, which is being supposed to be respected by, it's a guiding science for people who live in the modern lives. Nakikita natin na the science that they come up with,
Pabago-bago.
it will change in 10 years. Ang daming ganun Whereas the science of the ancient, which has been handed down, has to do with the preservation of the being and the cultures that has been put in place. Whereas the science of the modern world you will find the preservation is there, but the preservation doesn't mean why do we have nung araw nga, is there such a thing as world wars? Bad luck na naman yan. Kaya nga yung kanon eh. But the point is,
meron talagang
Meron.
astrologers na peke, di
Right.
ba? But
Pero may
they're rare
magagaling.
now, the ones who are
There
really
are good
good.
ones.
yes, there are. There's
good
kasi
ones.
siyempre subjected na yan sa
Meron talagang tunay. Meron
they're real. They're
kunyari.
kumbaga ano, they're bona fide.
Oo.
It's been handed down. Yeah, there are this, but in the West, this is not
Mm-mm.
readily recognized. But yet you will find what cultures bring about resiliency.
Mm.
You look into history. Tingnan nyo na lang yun. So that's what we want to say. We're running out of time.
Oo.
Now, but that is where
Bilis ng
it is so crucial sa buhay natin. What are the guiding principles that brings us strength and wisdom?
Mm-mm.
That is the question.
Mm-mm.
And the strength and wisdom means the change that I have as a person. I see the truth in my life because I have been a recipient of the truth. And that the truth becomes my way of life.
Mm-mm.
And not the
Yes.
truth that keeps changing.
Yeah.
So in cultures like old systems of cultures like the Chinese culture, the Vedic culture, you will find it has to do with not just for the individual.
Mm-mm.
It has to do with everyone is part of this whole thing.
Mm-mm.
We cannot just be making distinction. We are individuals, but we have a common ground and we have a common, kumbaga ano, we're beings that is, kumbaga we can live together
Mm-mm.
in harmony.
Oh, we have to learn to do that.
We have to learn to do that. Sinabi nga, kasi if you cannot be in harmonious in your own existence, sa sarili mo,
Inside of yourself.
inside of you and your life, then you won't be able to be harmonious with everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And what such practices have taught us has to do with harmony in nature. With when you talk about that, you live a harmonious life with others.
Yeah,
all-
family especially, no?
Lahat yan, it
Beginning.
falls complete in its components. So we are many of us are gifted with this.
Mhm.
So it's our choice.
Yeah.
What will bring stability to our life? Is it just based on something that is whimsical and changing constantly? Or is it based on truth and it's something that is stable?
Yeah, I think in short, a
The-
good thing to follow is take the good and leave the bad.
Right. Dagdag lang ni Yogi sa atin, they value family and relationships, respect for elders, sharing wealth, and decluttering before the new year starts and start fresh. So that's really, meron tayong magandang
The
values.
Chinese
Yes.
tradition.
Oo.
Oriental.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, mag-podcast na raw tayo.
Sabi
Sige.
ni Muriel.
Maraming salamat sa inyo. At,
Yeah, to do that too. Yeah.
Happy New Year ulit.
here.
To you all.
At magbigay buhay tayo palagi sa lahat.
Mhm.
Pasalamat sa ating buhay at bigay buhay tayo sa lahat ng ating mga naging biyaya.
Yes.
Share what life really is.
Have a harmonious New Year.
Take care of yourselves and
New Year.
don't have fat chance.
Stay safe.
Yes.
And
Thank
make
you.
every day
The
Like-
best day.
best day of their life. Okay.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, go Palakas!